Alright guys, let's see what's happening with the price of Bitcoin. And we have a breakout to the downside. So this channel, which was formed for like a month, we had the upper part, the resistance area, 1, 2, 3 tests and one fake breakout, and the bottom part of the channel, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and actually 5 times almost. And apparently there is like a narrative that if we have a fake breakout into the one side, then we may have another one, and the question is whether this breakout will be a real or fake one. And the thing here is, you remember here we had divergence, bullish divergence, and on TD sequential and daily time frame there was a red 9, which is supposed to be the signal for the rise. And indeed we had like $1,000, almost $1,000 rise from that point. And instead of holding at this area, which I was saying that if we hold around to $12,000, at least above those highs, then there's a very high chance that the growth will continue. However, instead of that, there's a very fast move to the downside, this massive dump. And in fact, if you'd look at the daily time frame, that you'd see that we actually have those kind of candles over and over again, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, which usually happens when the huge capital tries to dump their positions on those people who are going long. So they're basically emptying the order book with the market orders. And yeah, this is what we basically see right now. And after the drop below $11,200, it was a massive dump below even $10,000. We actually closed the gap which we had here at around $11,500, and now we have another one below $10,000. We almost touched it, but we didn't go through. So there's another target here, and there's again very high chance that we pierce this area. And you remember that this area is actually also in the same zone which we had with the 2-month consolidation period. And the point here is there is kind of a there are two kinds of narratives here. That first of all, this was a very long accumulation, and this is a bull trend and a like major bull market. And after this long accumulation, it should be a new high. And we had this a very short period of time, which can't be a distribution because it's very short, not so much volume and so on. So that move must be a correction, right? And well, regular correction on Bitcoin market in 2016, 17 is like 30, even 40%. So from $12,000, it should be something like $8,000 low. And in fact, if we look at the Fibonacci retracement, let's draw it from the lowest point, well, something like that, you will get this area, $9,000 for 38.2%. We went below 23.6. So this is another target which you can look at in that regard. But if this wasn't accumulation, if this was actually distribution, and the huge capital tries to dump their assets, their positions before moving price even lower, then that was a bull trap, and we might have a much deeper drop, and below this area we'll have a real accumulation, maybe even below $3,000, who knows. So it's still also possible, but currently the point is that we are below this area, this actually level of $10,500. It was resistance before, and here and here, and even here became support. So now it is resistance again. And if we will be able to move above that and hold above that, then I would say that it's very high chance that we will try to test this zone of $11,000 and maybe even return to this area and continue trading sideways. And then, yeah, first version of the fact that this is a bull market and will continue to go higher is very possible. But if this level doesn't hold and we continue to go lower, I tend to think that the correction will be much lower than 30-40%, and yeah, at least below this zone to $8,000 is for sure. Well, for sure, there's nothing, there's no certainty, of course, but like very likely in my opinion. And yeah, much lower than that is very, very likely as well. I should point out that there was formation of head and shoulders, which is a kind of a not perfect, but it's called complex head and shoulders formation here, and the target was $9,800. We almost touched this area, so this pattern played out. I posted that on Twitter and Telegram. And another one, we had very similar one in the beginning of this year in February. We dropped again for the full scale of this pattern, and after some correction of this drop, we had even a lower drop. So yeah, it's not very encouraging seeing that kind of a repetition of such patterns. So yeah, there is a very high chance that we continue to go lower. I don't say that we will. I don't want to sound bearish, because again, it was a long bull trend. It's very likely to continue, but again, a lot of things will depend on the global markets, and you see what is happening right now with stocks. We have finally such a massive drop after the higher high, and again, it kind of a double top and a bull trap. So if this continues going lower, then I don't think that Bitcoin holds and will be able to maintain its position as a kind of a non-correlated asset. I think it will continue to drag lower together with all the other markets. So they all experience this correction. It might be just a correction, but considering the growth which we had so far, like S&P, you can see the slope here is very, very sharp, and it didn't happen for like the almost whole period of bull market of 10 years so far. And yeah, it should be corrected. The question is, like, would it be a massive correction or a new low or something like that? So we should be very careful about that. And also, I say that there was another thing with the miners selling their bitcoins, transferring them to the exchanges. It was shown by the cryptocurrencies team, and yeah, it's kind of a dump which produced by miners. Very likely to happen when we see something like that. Very likely that we get such a dump, and yeah, it played out again. So there's no wonder that we see such a drop after this distribution of the mined Bitcoin, freshly mined Bitcoin. Maybe not exactly freshly, but like a lot of the amount of Bitcoin mined by the huge pools. So finally, what I was going to say is about altcoins, because here is the thing about Ether. And again, with Ether, I did another post here about the formation of the bearish divergence here, together with TD sequential green 9 as a bearish sign on a weekly time frame, with an overbought situation on many indicators, and happened before on the local and global highs before, and we had massive corrections after that. So it is very likely that the same thing might happen again with Ether. And Ether is like a sample example for all the other altcoins, and you see currently it's forming the broadening formation here. It's not exactly the same as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin almost reached its previous, actually went below previous high here, and well, Ether went much higher than Bitcoin during this last growth. So it's kind of a compensated. I mean, this growth is compensated by the dump which we had here, but Ether didn't make the lower low, considering the zone here. So the thing here is, it's very often that altcoins, and we can look at the dominance, Bitcoin dominance on the historical perspective, that when Bitcoin started to correct in the beginning of 2018, altcoins were still experiencing some growth here and here as well, because people were believing that we might see some continuation of the bull market, not only for Bitcoin but for alts as well. And while like retailers continue to buy alts, the huge investors and smart money, they were switching from altcoins to Bitcoin and maybe fiat, and so on and so forth. So here it might be that we see actually the same thing. So Ether might drop lower to something like its previous resistance, and now it's support below $300, so it will cover the whole growth which we had here. And again, you can get Fibonacci retracement, so something like roughly like this. You see it's already 50%. So if Bitcoin drops to 38, so altcoins might depreciate even more than Bitcoin. So of course it's it's a riskier asset. So be careful with that as well. And again, the sign of the greater correction, or maybe a bearish midterm trend or long-term trend, is the fact that altcoins did appreciate more at a certain period of time than Bitcoin, and then they start to drop even lower. So this is a kind of a dangerous situation right now. And while I'm making this video, Bitcoin is making even lower, like 10,140. So yeah, it's a little bit alarming now, but I guess that this is what we have. So let's be careful and trade it accordingly. I hope that what I say was somehow useful for you guys, and if yes, please leave a like or dislike, whatever you think is appropriate, and I appreciate you watching it. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.